Hello, everyone. Please raise your hand if you can hear Lishu and I. All right, awesome. I see one hand. Perfect. So my name is Maurice Altaf, and I'm an account manager. I specialize in the CTC Express tools. Today, Lishu and I will be going over and uncovering some of the more popular tools. And Lishu will be doing most of the work for me. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and Lishu should be able to help you out. Lishu, I'll leave this with you now.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is the most popular tools that we have with the one suite, the BIM Project Suite. So we're going to go over that, the popular ones today, and then like he said, please do ask questions. Maybe we can wait for one portion of the demo to happen, and then we can go back and I'll ask if there are any questions. Oops, okay, I'm trying to get my PowerPoint to move and it's not moving. Okay. Oops. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I guess my mouse was stuck there. Okay, so why do we actually want to use CTC tools? Okay, so main reasons here, overall with all the tools itself, and I'll talk about in general right now with all the tools. We're going to want increased productivity, right? We want to maintain consistency within the models, whether it's the content or it's a nomenclature of things. We want to be able to locate things, and we want to be able to validate what's actually in our models itself. And that's what the CTC tools, they all do, and they contribute in a very different way. Now, who is CTC, and how is SolidCAD involved here? So CTC, they are leaders in the productivity tool development for everyone here, from your interns, your anyone on the production staff, even to your PMs, the people that are non-Revit users. Okay, so we're talking about Revit users and non-Revit users, and most importantly, it's not just dedicated for the BIM managers, even though there's tools there for the BIM manager. So it's for everyone. So that's why CTC has developed these tools that they can actually use by everyone and not just the BIM manager itself. So some of you may know the suites themselves if you've tested them out, but there are 4 main suites that we are not going to look at today. Like I said, we're going to look at the BIM Project Suite today. So there's the BIM Project Suite, the BIM Manager Suite, the Batch Suite, the BIM Data Suite, and then there is some of the other side modules themselves with the SuperDoors and Case, and as well with Hive. I'm going to show you a tiny bit of Hive, not really, but it's just to access some files itself. But like I said, we are going to focus on the BIM Project Suite itself today. So the Project Suite itself, what it focuses on is automating routine tasks, okay, managing large number of content files, right, generated and generating database information, whether it's, through the spreadsheet Excel, and how you'll see how it actually is quite similar to Excel itself, right? And then we're going to be able to stay and do all this work within the Revit environment itself. And like I said, this is a tool where contents of it can be used by Revit users and non-Revit users. There are some free tools out there. And we all know that, with all the CTC tools, there are some tools that we can actually use without, just downloading the application itself, from the online link. So you can get some free tools. We're going to look at one of the main ones. Is a real nice one, the Renumbering tool, and as well a few of the other ones that are actually quite popular and quite powerful. Specifically, I'm going to be looking at the Spreadsheet Link. So let's, instead of going right talking about each of the modules, I'll go through each one of them one by one. But let's go through the ones that I'm going to show you that is actually going to be quite powerful. So the View Creator. The main thing that the View Creator is going to be able to do is going to save you a lot of time in creating, your floor plans, ceiling plans, your elevations. You're going to be able to duplicate views, you know, much more quickly and to create dependent views with your scope boxes, create schedules themselves, and even create 3D views that are isolated with just that one work set itself and helping you manage the content that's actually in your 3D views, right? And then we'll see how we can actually control naming conventions of your views. You can do it by a level, you can have control of the view templates and phases itself. So let's actually go right in there and look at, you know, inside Revit itself and see what that tool actually does. So here I am, you know, with Revit and the CTC tools I have installed. You'll see here there is a tab, so there's a CT software. I've got some other modules there as well, but we're going to look at this one, the CTC software and the CTC project suite there. So what I want to be able to do is we want to be able to look at the view creator, right? So what I'm going to do right now is actually open up a template, and I'm actually going to go to the CTC tool, the Hive. So basically this is a content library, right? So this is where typically I'm actually going to store basically everything that I have in terms of content that you guys may have in terms of your library, with its templates and families. I'm going to open up a template here that's basically, whoops, basically it's going to be a pretty clean file there, so it's not going to be completely loaded. I actually have developed many templates in my time, and as a former BIM manager, I've done both, where I've either loaded lots of stuff in the template or I've got minimal amount, but I found that when I have lots loaded in the template itself, it's great, the content is there, but what's not great is the fact that no one likes to actually purge out what's actually in the file itself. So you start off with a very heavy file, and then as the project goes along, you still find content there that isn't needed, and the file is just large itself. So the one that we're going to actually work with right now is going to be minimal. So when I have it in Hive, very easy, and I can actually just go in here and right from double clicking within Hive itself, I can actually select that template and I actually go through some of the process that you would do within Revit itself. So I'm going to go and it's going to detach from central, and if I had a file there with work sets, it would have the work set and preserve the work set. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. It's going to open up this dialog box. I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm also going to open up all my work sets. So I'm going to close out on Hive. There'll be another webinar. We'll actually focus on Hive a little bit more. It is an excellent tool for content management. So you see here I have now a Revit template that's open. There's very little in here right now. You've got some of the basic, you know, elevation markers that are there, some sheets there. We do only have one room schedule here. But what I want to be able to do is actually create the various different views for you, right? So we can see how we're going to do that actually very quickly itself. So I'm going to go here and open up my south elevation here, and we see here we have some levels already drawn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move some of these levels up so I can actually create some more levels here. So I'm just going here and just pick my level. And this is probably what you would do as well, or create them manually, however you choose to do it. And this actually takes a while doing it this way, right? And then I'm going to go here, I'm going to rename them. So this is my third level. Oops. I've got to learn how to spell here. And I must have accidentally selected, I'll get rid of that one there. So I'm just going to add the additional third and fourth level. Now we know that these are not views, basically they're like reference views right now because we don't have the view itself that you see in the project browser itself. Now, if we want to actually do this manually, we'd have to go to view, we'd have to go down here and then create our floor plans or the reflected ceiling plans, whatever type of plans that we actually needed, we'd go through here and actually change them into actual views themselves. If you want to duplicate the view, we're going to have to do the same thing. We're going to have to select on the view, right click, duplicate, whether you're going to duplicate with detailing or a dependent. But what we're going to do is we're going to use that CTC tool and actually expedite this, right? And you'll see how we can generate all these views very quickly and with a lot of consistency in the name of our views themselves. So what we have here, the view creator itself, right? So right now, if I go to levels, these are all my levels. And if I actually wanted to, I actually could add levels here as well. I didn't have to do what I did within Revit itself. I could actually add levels within here. As you can see, you can add level and a little update and you can create that. I'm gonna go here in the plan here, the plan and ceiling tab, so that's actually going to create some of my floor plans and ceiling plans, my RCPs. So what I want to be able to do is I'm going to change my abbreviations as well. So my main level is going to leave as 1, my lower level 0, 0. I'll leave my roof and I'm going to change that to PP for my parapet, and my 3rd level, I'll change that, the abbreviations to 3, and my 4th level to 4. So what I want to be able to do is, as long as my levels are set up here in my starter template file, I've got all the view templates to start off with, and I can now apply the various levels with the view templates. So I'm going to go here, select all the levels that I want to create, and then I'm going to select, what kind of plans actually do I want. So let's say I want to generate code plans, demo plans. I want existing floor plans, finished plans, and some just your regular demo plans. It's going to be, I'm going to set this for a new construction. So you can see here, you can add phases here, so you can actually incorporate that. Do I want to actually abbreviate this and actually include that? No, I do not. So I'm actually going to just create the new construction one in there. So down here, you can actually change in terms of how you're actually going to name these views themselves. So I can add a prefix to it. You can see here that it's going to take the view template and then phase it and any suffixes that I want. So once I've actually checked everything that I want, then what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to select my working view as well. I'm going to select add. Once I've selected add, you can see down here, it gives you a preview of all the views that it's actually going to create. So whoops, I think I'm going to go to remove all because it gave me a preview and that's not what I want. I do not want abbreviation. So I'm going to add again, and you can see now that's actually, now this is exactly what I want. So if it looks good, exactly what I want, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm actually going to create the view. So you can see here now, there's no time at all. It's actually created 42 views in a matter of seconds, right? And if I go here on my left, oops, I'm going to close this. You can see here that here are all my floor plans there. And all the views and all the view templates have actually also been applied as well. Any questions on that? Okay, let me go back into the view creator again. Other things, so we looked at section plans and RCPs. You can actually create elevations as well here, and they can indicate, all the different phases if you had them. But if you want to actually create dependent views, so typically if you're actually to go to create dependent views, you'd go to your view, you create your scope boxes. If you had a large plan, so what you'd go in here within Revit, you're probably going to go here, right click, create, duplicate as a dependent, and so on to create all those large plans that you may have. So let me actually go in here and actually create, let's just go into one of these floor plans, and I'm actually going to create a view and show you how you can actually create all those dependent views actually very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in some walls. And as I say, every time I do demo, every time I do this, whatever I'm creating doesn't have to win any awards or doesn't have to stand out. It's just for demo purposes itself. So I want to create, add in some scope boxes. So typically, if you've got very large footprint of your building, you may have to break it up. So that's why you're gonna be creating all those dependent views. So I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna give this, I'm gonna give this scope box a name. Whoops, well, I didn't. Oops, okay, I'm gonna, sorry, my mouse is actually stuck here. And it's gonna automatically number that for us. And you can adjust those as necessary, right? So if I now go back to my view creator tool, I'm going to go back to my dependent views. So, and you can see here are all my floor plans here. These are all the scope boxes that I actually created. Obviously, you'd want to properly name your scope boxes. And then you can go here and you can actually check them all if you wanted, right? Or be selective of the ones that you actually want, what scope boxes you want to apply. So once I've done that, I can actually go here and actually create all my views, right? And you'll see that pop up in a matter of seconds. You'll have all your views properly named with the proper scope boxes actually generated, for those views themselves. So it was 129 views that it actually created. So if I go in here, you'll see here, now that I've got all my views created and everything is properly named, so you've got all this consistency, and even with the scope boxes, everything is done nice and well done, especially for really large projects themselves. So other things with the view creator itself, you can actually do schedules as well, so you can do it per level as well. You can create schedules itself, so I can say I want a room schedule for every single level itself. And if I go down into my schedules here, you'll see I have a schedule for each of my levels. Then you've got title blocks. If you wanted to, you could actually assign and swap out title blocks this way as well with work sets. So this is what's really nice about this. What I really liked when I was managing teams, as a BIM manager, I actually like to create 3D views, and in order to manage what was on every single work set, I'd say, okay, create a work set. I'm going to turn off all the other work sets, but that one specifically on that work set. So then you can easily go into that 3D view and see if, everything that's on that work set is supposed to be there, if there are things that are, are floating in there that shouldn't be there. So then you can actually assign them to the proper work set itself. So this was great. This is great in order to be able to do these checks with your model, so that it will actually create it, and by default, it'll turn off all the other work sets, but the one that's actually active of that named work set itself. So you'll see here when I actually go back in here, I'll look at my 3D views. And these were, if I go into visibility graphics for that, so you'll see here in the work set by default. Oh, did I not grab the right one? Well, it would help if I actually go into that view. Okay, let me. And so you see here that, so everything's hidden but that one. Okay. So duplicating views, if you want to do duplicating views, you can do them from here as well. You can duplicate just a regular duplicate with detailing, or as dependent. Notice here, if you wanted, you can also add prefixes and suffixes to that as well. And then as well with view templates, if you want to actually create, if you had views you created and you want to apply them to the other templates, you can do so by just dragging and dropping it to the proper view. Any questions on that before we actually go and look at another tool here? But as you can see here that, you know, by, you know, in the matter of what, let's say 5-10 minutes, 10 minutes here, that we've created all these other floor plans, we've created dependent views, you know, with all the scope boxes properly assigned and properly named, and typically that would take a lot longer. So you've got, you know, time that you saved and a lot of consistency with what you actually have generated with all your different views. Okay, so if there's no questions then what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll look at our renumbering tool. So the renumbering tool is, you know, great in the fact that, you know, a lot of time people are actually, and I'm going to close this one out and open up a different model here. So it's great for renumbering, whether you're talking about doors, your rooms, or even details, right, on a detail sheet. So, you know, that's what I find sometimes when I actually am, when I've been reviewing models, that what people end up doing is that no one is actually, or not everyone on the team is consistently naming or numbering and placing their details in the proper order. I'm going to open up this, and this project I have has got a lot more content here for the demo. So when we're looking at renumbering, you know, we'll specifically look at, I'm going to go in here and look at a detail sheet itself and show you how this tool is actually used. So I'm going to go to one of my detail sheets, my wall sections. So under the CTC tab there, you'll see that is a renumbering. So you know that anytime you actually, if you were to download this, any of the lighter colored tools, all these are actually your free tools that you can use. So even if you know, your company wasn't going to invest in, you know, purchasing any one of these full suites, and you can actually just download it and use the renumbering. So the renumbering itself, so I'm going to go in here, select that renumbering. Right, you can see here you can do rooms, doors, grids, you know, that's another great one, and detail numbers itself. You can see there's a consistency with all of these where you can put prefixes or suffixes in here. So if I want to put a prefix there, I could for my detail number, or I can start with whatever sequence that I actually want to do and numerically go from there. The other thing that's really nice about this is that it does the auto swap detail number. So obviously if you've got already number 1 already generated, you want it to auto swap it so that we know that within Revit you cannot have 2 view details with the same number. So if you look here, that right now I've got this as detail number 4, 7, and 6, you know, and that's really not how I actually would want my entire set to actually read. Typically, the way that I've been taught is that, you know, number 1 should always start at the bottom right. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's how I want to do it, and so that's how I want to start it. That way, have it set. So I can actually go in here. I'm going to select as one. I'm not going to put a prefix. I'm going to do the auto swap, and then I'm going to renumber. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to select a view. So there's 1. You can see here's 1. There's 2. So it's automatically going in here and renumbering it by just selecting the view itself. So I'm quickly, hopefully I didn't double click on that, but you can see here now, I goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see how quickly that was to actually renumber it versus you going in here and manually doing that. And so you can do the same thing with rooms as well, with rooms, doors, you know, and grid. That's a really nice one as well. Okay, any questions on the room renumber? You can see how it actually can make things a lot quicker for us here. So renumbering, you know, fast and simple, you know, with your rooms, doors, and your details. So next big one we're going to look at, and this is one, this demo is a little bit more comprehensive. We'll start looking at first of, you know, what we're going to do with a large amount of data, how we can actually use Spreadsheet Link to actually modify data And you can be a Revit user or a non-Revit user. And so the first exercise I'm going to go through is actually just going to show you how you can actually simply edit files, give someone, you know, that's a non-Revit user the ability to actually edit content, you know, or within schedule itself. So I'm actually going to go in here. Let me go to a floor plan here. I'm going to go to this code plan here. And what we'll see here, whoops, I want to go to the first floor. Now, typically within your, let's say we're generating room schedules, room finish schedules. You'll see here within that room and in the properties dialog box, what you typically would end up doing is going in here and entering in, you know, whatever, you know, finish it is. So let's go in here, let's go put in some carpet here. So I would go in here, and if I was actually going to enter this in, so someone may go in here and put all the finishes within the properties dialog box. Now that is a little time consuming to do this, and now we also know that you can accomplish this if you have some consistency with room types to do this with a key schedule, right? But that takes some time as well to generate. So I'm actually going to leave it as that. I'm going to go in here. That's associated with this room, room 117, and I'm actually going to go now into my room schedule. I'm just going to close some of these. Whoops. So we'll see here in that room finish schedule, right? Here's the values of 117 of the rooms that I've actually created here. And typically here, you know, you could, like I said, you can go in here, you can go through each one of these and start selecting them. You can do a copy paste one by one to each of the cell, but no way in Revit can you actually do this very efficiently. And also there's no way, or when someone is a non-Revit user, do you possibly, if you're on the Revit team, you may not want someone to actually come in here and actually modify this, right? You want to have a little bit more control, especially if they don't know how to actually use Revit itself. But maybe you want someone to be able to modify, you know, and update the schedule, you know, outside of Revit so that you can control it and actually bring it back in. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go in and go to my spreadsheet link. And I'm actually going to go and select. So what you have here with the spreadsheet link, you know, there's 3 different ways of how it's going to extract all this data that's actually in your Revit models. You can actually filter this out by categories or by the types or by schedule. So in this case, we're actually going to look at schedules itself. So I'm going to go look at my room finish schedule. And so what this does, Schedule Excel, a spreadsheet link, it actually is going to open up what you see in the background there, a very much Excel-like spreadsheet, right? And this is all it is. It's actually is just another interface. You know, it is very much like Excel, but it is within, you know, the CTC, and it's actually, you know, part of Revit right now. So you don't have to get out of Revit at all. You just have to open up this tool here. So what I can actually do here now, I can actually go in here, and if I want to copy this information, so this could be saved out. You can see here, I can save this file, I can save this file out, put it onto the network, and have that person modify this file, then I can open it up again. But you can see here what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to grab some of these entries here, and I'm, you know, with a control button, if you're familiar with Excel, you can actually go in here and you can go in and populate this information as well very quickly, just like you would when you're working Excel. Oh, I'm not clicking on this right. So you can see it's done there. Once you've done this, what you can do is you can hit the apply, and you can apply this active worksheet to the Revit project itself, and then we'll be able to see that it's now updated 21 rooms there. right, with all this information. So that was actually pretty quick in order for you to be able to do this. So this is very nice in order to give someone the ability that doesn't have any Revit experience to actually go in here. So you can see here, oops, you can see here, here's all the things that I did in that spreadsheet link, and it's actually populated into the schedule itself. Okay, so that's, like I said, is a great way to be able to populate this much more quickly. And I'd say it's actually a much quicker than actually going through and creating a schedule key itself. So the other thing that we want to be able to do is a little more complex right now is what if we, as we move away from, like room schedules, but one of the things that we find very difficult with schedules and with tags, right, is creating calculated values, right? So in the instance of, occupancy, right? So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to look at, on this code plan here, I want to be able to populate, this tag, this room tag with this occupancy here. But we know that, Revit does not actually allow us to do that right now just because of the way that, the parameters are set that you cannot actually create calculated values in a schedule and for it to populate right here in the tag itself. So what we've done is we actually created some additional parameters itself within here. Some you'll see here the ones that I have with some CTC ones, right? But in order to create those values, we want to be able to take that total area of the room and divide it by the area per person to be able to give us the real value so that you can actually populate that within here. And we're going to be able to do that with the Spreadsheet Link tool as well. So I'm going to go in here and I'm actually going to go up and open up the Spreadsheet Link again. And this time what I want to be able to do, I'm going to go and grab the room object. And you can see here all the pulls, actually it pulls in a lot more properties of that room than actually what Revit is actually displaying in the properties dialog box. But what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to grab the area. I want to be able to grab the area per person with the parameter I actually generated. And then I actually do want the level here. So I'm going to select and filter out to level and whoops. I've just double clicked on that and you notice here at the very bottom, I can sort this out as well. And I want my occupancy there as well, right? So you'll notice here as I was adding each of the parameters here, you actually saw within the spreadsheet link, this Excel-like table that it actually created the table itself with a parameter. So here are all the parameters here that you're seeing in each of these columns here. But what we don't have is we don't have anything with the occupancy. Now, like I said, that the spreadsheet link is very much in functions like Excel. So if you actually are great with formulas, you should be great at doing this as well within the spreadsheet link. So you can actually go in here, you can actually put in your formulas in here, generate them just like you would with Excel. Now, if I want to put in a formula here, so if I did this, I want to be able to take my area and I want to divide it by my area per person to give me that value, but we see that it only entered it in that one cell itself, but we want it to carry down to all the spaces itself. So what I wanted to be able to do, if you notice here at the very far right here within the spreadsheet link setting, if I actually select the calculated value here, it will actually then give it to me for all the cells themselves. And the other thing that we'll notice as well, that when we actually do enter a value, what we don't want, you've got square footages and really, Excel doesn't know what to do with the abbreviations here. So what we want to do is we want to hide those unit symbols so that we're only looking at values themselves, right? So this is how you're going to enter some values in here. So I'm going to go back and try this again. So we did the area divided by the area per person. Whoops. And you can see here now that it actually did put the value in here. But, you know, we also don't want to be able to see the decimals in here. We want to be able to see, you know, areas, you know, as whole numbers, or the occupancy numbers as whole numbers. And as well, we also still see some, you know, cells here where you've got, you know, these errors in here. So that's indicating that there wasn't anything in there, right? Since we didn't have an area per person. So we actually want our spreadsheet to actually calculate and tell it what to do. So if there's nothing in, if there's no area calculation in there, we maybe want to just actually assign it 1. So I already have, you know, something already preset. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close this out, and I'm actually going to open up one that actually has some of the other calculations that were already generated. So I'm going to go and load a file that I already have generated with those formulas. So you can see here that, you know, it's actually created, you know, it was pretty much the same spreadsheet, but with the formulas actually written out properly here. So basically it said that I have actually told it to round down, you know, the number, and then if there wasn't any value, I actually told it to leave it blank. Right, so once this is all done, you can see that I can go and apply this. And once I've applied this worksheet, you know, all the values and all the calculations that we've actually created, you'll see in Revit here, it's actually updated 98 elements. So we should see here in Revit now that that occupancy value is now populated, right? And there you go, you actually see it. Okay, the other thing we can do with the schedules themselves, that we want to be able to maybe just take some schedules that we have generated through the spreadsheet link and be able to create them as schedule views and possibly put them onto a sheet, right? So what I want to be able to do, I'm going to want to be able to load another setting. So I'm going to go in here, actually, I'm going to go and open up the schedule Excel. So I want to be able to add the file and open up the occupancy that I have generated. Basically that file that we just created, I basically have saved it out, and I'm going to open this. And what you'll see here are tables that are actually generated already, right? And so what you can actually do here, and you can actually take each of these schedules, you can actually go in here and we can actually set what the graphics are actually going to look like. So the cell height, the cell width, the table, I've already got these preset already of what it actually and how I want it to actually appear. So whatever I see here in this spreadsheet, that I actually should come out exactly the same as well in my schedule and when I apply it to a sheet itself. Right, so if all these are set, I'm going to say okay to this. And so at the very bottom here, you can see here that you have the option to select just that one worksheet, or you can select multiple tabs, worksheets. So let's say I'm going to select that, you know, for each of these where I have calculations for each of, you know, whether it's the water closets, journals, however, you know, we've set this up for each of these tab here. I'm going to set this up. I can actually create it as a schedule view, or I can create it as a drafting view, and that's up to you how you actually want to do that. I'm right now going to set it as a schedule view. I'm going to say okay. And so what it should do now is should actually create some schedules, you know, for me from each of these tabs that I actually have selected, the worksheets. So always keep in mind that when, you know, you're working on these and these schedules are set up, like I said, you could always export these out onto your network have that person, you know, work on this just like as they would work on Excel file. Then you can open it back up here and schedule, you know, the spreadsheet link, and then you can actually bring in, push it back into your Revit model itself, so that you can always have people that are non-Revit users also participating in this. So any questions out there right now? Okay, so this actually doesn't usually take this long. I guess I'm actually kind of surprised it's taken as long as it is. So while it's actually populating, me actually then just go ahead and do a recap here, you know, what we actually saw today, right now, as our time is approaching here. So the view creator saved us a ton of time in actually creating, you know, right from the very get-go of creating floor plans and ceiling plans, duplicating those views, you know, creating dependent views with our scope boxes, you can create the schedules and having those isolated 3D views, right? And all that, you know, is being done while we are actually controlling the naming conventions of each of the views, and being able to apply the various view templates as well to each of the views. And then we looked at the renumbering tool, you know, how fast and simple it was for us to renumber, you know, by clicking on the views. And you can do the same thing when you're talking about grids or rooms and doors as well, in terms of the renumbering itself. And the fact that with the spreadsheet link, you should be able to, you know, take a large amount of data, whatever it is that you want. You can see that there is tons of parameters of all the different categories of elements within Revit. You can extract that data. So whatever data you want to get out of Revit, you can actually bring it into Spreadsheet Link, make those modifications. You know, it's done by anyone within the project team, Revit users and non-Revit users, and make those modifications, you know, and then bring it back into Revit itself without actually any issues itself. So the project suite as a whole itself, you know, it's meant to automate routine tasks over and over again, just like with the creation of the views themselves, right? Managing large amounts of data, right? To be able to generate all that database information so that you can actually modify. And the nice thing about all this is that you're able to stay within Revit. You don't have to close out and go into another application itself. All the CTC tools, they actually work with Revit while you're in Revit itself, okay? And like I mentioned, that check it out with, you know, download the application itself from the CTC website. You'll see any of the tools that we have that are the light colors, or whether it's a light red or the light blue, but in this case, the green tools themselves. All those are actually free tools themselves. Right, so you've got the other great one here that I don't have time to actually go over in the session, you know, is also about the detail links or your quick select. Those are actually two other really great tools itself. The detail link can actually expedite if you have a huge CAD library to be able to create your DWG files and make them drafting views for each of your CAD files that you may have. And then quick select, typically you have quick select within Revit, but the quick select within the CTC tool is actually going to allow you to go a little more deeper into your quick selection of your elements themselves. Okay, so let me see what's actually happening here. Maybe I should, something's looks like it's not responding here. So let me close out of this. I'm going to close out of that and let me run that again. Oh, that's not good. I'll have to get out of Revit. But what I wanted to show you after this, you know, is be able to show you when it creates the schedules, and then it's going to actually go and allow me to go in there, and you'll see those schedules just like you have a regular, you know, door schedule, room schedule. You're going to be able to drag and drop that onto a sheet itself. Sorry about that, folks. Mohis, did you want to, maybe while we've got this timeline, bringing this up, if you wanted to talk about any of the licensing or anything like that you want to mention to the folks online? This might be a good time.
Well, thanks, Lishuya. It's unfortunate that that happened. Before that, do any of you have any questions about what Lishu just went over? And if you do, you can ask them in the questions section. Okay, so I'll quickly just go over some of the licensing. So it's fairly easy. There are different types of licenses available. There's a standalone license, a network license, so that would be like a floating license that your team could share. Then there's a site license and an enterprise license. Enterprise licenses an unlimited amount of licenses for all of your different locations. And a site license would be unlimited amount of licenses for one particular office location. And I think Lishu went over the difference between the lighter color tools, which are free of cost, which you can use for as long as possible, and then the darker color, which do have a trial of 14 days and require a license after that.
Yes.
Any questions regarding the licensing? I think we're good. Lishu, I think I'll leave it back to you, and then you can continue from where your computer Revit crashed.
I don't know, actually, my computer's hung again here, right? I'm not too sure why. I don't know if, do you want to go open up it on your end, and we, I can walk you through it, and we can show that way, because I need just to be able to bring up that file itself, and I believe you have that file on your computer as well. Hello, Mohis?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was clicking on the wrong unmute button. Was trying on my computer, but it was right in front of me. I could do that. It might take longer, but I mean, we only have about 10 minutes. Does it make sense to do that?
Well, let me bring it up, and if those who wanted to get off the call, that pretty much wraps up. I'd like to show this actually other piece there, right? While we should have been able to push it as a schedule view, right? And like I said, that basically what it does is it creates that schedule view, just like a door schedule, and then we're actually able to bring those views onto a sheet itself. Why don't we just wrap it up here then?
Yeah, sure. If your
Okay.
computer is down, then there's nothing we can do
Yeah,
about
if
it.
there's no other questions, I think if those that don't know, I think most people on the call who are actually very familiar with Revit, like I said, where the computer got hung, it was in actually pushing those views into Revit itself. That's exactly what it would have done, just like a door schedule. So once we had that in there, that it would generate that view, then you would just drag and drop those schedules right into your sheet itself. So it's no different than dropping a door schedule onto a sheet. So it's just another schedule view. Okay, so thank you everyone for your time today. And we will have another session, I believe, next month as well. Okay, thank you very much.